What's up, everybody? I'm Justin Baldoni, and welcome to Man Enough Mondays, where every single Monday we go deep and we have real conversations about what it means to be a man, how we can become better, and in turn, not just become better men, but better humans. We've already talked about having a sound body and having a sound mind, but today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while, and that is what it means to adapt. And a lot of people are pivoting right now, and so I have two amazing, handsome, muscular men who are known for their pivots. I want to introduce you all. My friend Tank Sinatra. He's known as the Michael Jordan of memes. This is a guy who 6 years ago was a fence salesman. I'm sure he was a damn good fence salesman, and now he's like the best. And he's one of the most influential people on the internet. Tank, what's up, dude?
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me something to do.
Yeah, right. And then another guy who needs no introduction. I grew up watching him play football. He's a 6-time NFL Pro Bowl player. He's an actor. He's a humanitarian. He's a father. He's now doing TikTok dancing videos with his daughter. He's an inspirational speaker, and good God, he's got one of the best bodies I've ever seen. Terrell Owens, what's up, T?
Right. Right before we I put a face with the name at the bottom. I just saw Tank, so I thought you were the singer Tank. I'm like, oh man, I know Tank. I know that Tank.
Yeah.
And then you popped up. And I was like, oh, it's a bald-headed white guy.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I want to just dive in real quick. One of the reasons I wanted you both to be on the show is you both have successfully made massive pivots in your life, from being known as one thing to now something else. And if you don't mind, I'd love to hear the stories from each of you of how you became what you are, because that doesn't come without hard work. It doesn't come without discipline and structure. And I think that could be something that both myself and a lot of men around this country, people around this country, could really take some inspiration from.
This whole time has given me pause and the ability to kind of figure out what is it I want to do. And thankfully I'm in a position over the last, I was a good salesman. I made money. I've made a better living making memes, and I have a little breathing room, but I do remember very distinctly what it's like to have no breathing room, to feel like you're suffocating, and to try and create some kind of entrepreneurial venture out of your home when you're unemployed and you're not sure where, how you're going to pay your rent, can be really, really tough. But I do know that pressure makes diamonds. And if you can pull yourself out of this, I mean, who knows what you're capable of.
One of my favorite quotes by Martin Luther King is, it goes, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands at times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. And where we are right now, we're the entire nation. We're at a point where we're being challenged. When I started out, I didn't think that I was going to be the Hall of Famer that I'm sitting here as today. I never thought I would play beyond the collegiate level, just being just a regular average athlete. I'm from Alexander City, Alabama, small town south of Montgomery.
You were an average athlete?
Yeah, absolutely. I trust me. And I think that's what's so unique about, my story and who I am and where I've gotten is because, leaving high school, I probably was at best probably a 2 or 3 star athlete. A lot of people look at my professional career and probably will gauge and look back on him like, man, he must have been a hell of an athlete, in high school and college. But I wasn't. It was just my desire, my dedication, and my discipline is what enabled me to do the things that I did. And so when you talk about where we are today, and you think about challenges, and you talk about pivoting, and you think about the obstacles, every athlete, that have reached a certain level of success, and even business people, not just athletes in general, there's going to be some obstacles. There's going to be some things that you're going to be faced and encounter that will shape you to who you are. Sometimes circumstances make the man.
Tank, what do you think?
I want to just say, I think what Terrell just said is so important. And I'm not shocked, but I am pleasantly surprised to learn that he, either gauged himself as an average athlete or actually was, because I always felt like a late bloomer, a slow starter. But what I learned looking back was that all that progress that I made, I had to really work for. And when you really work for progress and it doesn't come by way of luck or fortune, it sticks. Success that comes as by way of luck kind of it's fleeting. It can disappear as fast as it came. When you work for it, it tends to stick around. So I remember feeling like I was never going to be a success. I was never going to be able to have a family or provide for a family. And when I finally, I think I was about 30 years old, I felt like I always say my brain literally felt like it clicked into place. It's like, this is what I need to do. If humans survived because of their adaptive nature, then I'm going to be the most adaptable human that there ever was. And I started trying things. And if I tried something and it didn't work, I let it go. And if I tried something and it worked for a little while, but then it stopped working, I let it go. I just never hung on to anything that was not pushing me forward. If it's not working, I have no problem letting it go. And then I also have no problem maybe picking that tool back up down the road if I feel like it's something I need. I'm not attached to any one idea or circumstance or thing in my life, because I feel like fluidity has allowed me to get where I am today. And I just never want to lose that. I don't want to lose the ability to adapt. Let's say this thing never ends and I never make another dollar. What if I need to learn to farm? I'm going to learn to farm, period. End of story.
Just to piggyback on what Tank said, I think, what resonated with what he said was faith. And, me growing up in the South, being raised by two women, my grandmother and my mom, that's what enabled me to really persevere through a lot of things that I did throughout the course of my football career. And obviously there's a media portrayal of who I am based on, again, just hearsay. So I understand that, over the years, people have, they've looked at me as someone that has been selfish, not a great teammate. I've been called an asshole, all types of things based on how the media portrayed me when they didn't ideally know who I was as a person. So again, when Tank speaks on faith, that's ideal. Like I said, my grandmother was a big part of my upbringing. Basically, everything that I feel like and who I am as a person, as a man, is because of her. And again, faith is belief in something that just doesn't seem possible. We can set goals for ourselves. We can set, these things up, for us to obtain, but then sometimes they may not go the way that we want to. I know we're using the word pivot, but again, in a sports world, especially football, plays are drawn up. We practice them to a T, and then in the game, they may not go the way that we want them to go, or how they were drawn up. We call that improvise. You know what I mean? So improvisation. So again, that's kind of how life is. You have to improvise. Again, we can always set our lives up according to how the base on which we've kind of structured it based on, again, whether it's, what we've learned in high school, college, what we've learned from our parents, and then just the knowledge that we have of what we want to be, for ourselves, being the best version of ourselves personally. Those things may not, like I said, they may not happen in the order in which we want them to happen. But again, when we talk about improvising and having faith and just knowing that those obstacles are going to be there, it's just, you just have to be able to respond to them and react to them accordingly.
The details of the plan is where the adaptation and the improvisation comes in. Early on, I established some principles. The word unconditional is usually applied to love, but I like to think of it as living unconditionally. I have a certain guideline or parameter for how I want to act, or how I want to feel about myself. That never changes, and that's rooted in my upbringing, faith, all that kind of stuff. And the details are completely disposable. The method, the details are completely disposable. So the routine that we're about to get into is ever changing. And I just think it's important to note kind of what he said about the underlying reason for doing what you're doing. And then on top of that is the plan or the method or the route that you take is always under adaptation. And sometimes obstacles can even become stepping stones or checkpoints for you to go, maybe I'm heading in the wrong direction. I'm coming up against the same obstacle over and over again. Maybe it's time for me to look at where I'm heading and see if I need to head another direction.
Tank, do you have an example of that in your life?
I was a fat kid growing up. So that's like my big hang up, is just body image and how do I feel about myself, which like Terrell said, you would think he's been an athlete his whole life. You would think I came out of the womb 250 pounds jacked, but that's not the case. I was a chubby kid. I was made fun of, and it wasn't pleasant. It was painful, but I wouldn't take that away from me because I got made fun of for 7 years and I'm going to stay in shape for the other 70 of my life. So it's an even trade for me. I kind of use that as motivation. But I just do, no matter what, pandemic or not, I do a little bit of everything every single day, no matter what. I don't sit down and read for an hour. I don't work out for 2 hours. I don't spend 3 hours with my family. I read 2 to 3 pages a couple of times a day. I do a little bit of exercise. I spend family time when I can. I work when I can. I would never consider myself disciplined. I just watched I'm watching that Jordan documentary, and I can't stop thinking about that line that Phil Jackson said about Jordan when he said, "You're only a success in the exact moment you're performing a successful act." Tack that onto this thing that I read from Mark Manson over the pandemic sometime. I don't know. It could have been a week ago or 2 months ago. Time is irrelevant at this point. And it said, if you were doing what you were doing right now and it echoed in eternity, would you be in heaven or in hell? And I was like, holy crap, man. Because sometimes I just feel like a failure, but that's because I decided to take a nap instead of working out. It doesn't mean I am a failure, but in that moment I did fail. So it's a good mark. It's a good measure, but it doesn't have to define me as who I am. It's just a good kind of checkpoint to figure out if I'm heading in the right direction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think it's crazy to hear Tank mention, how he was picked on and basically how he was bullied. And from what I gather, I'm sure, with a lot of the bullying, then that probably did something to his self-esteem. And then again, when you have low self-esteem, then that brings about what? That brings about self-doubt. And then all of these things, you're self-sabotaging. And so for me, with all those things, from the low self-esteem, the self-doubt, you're starting to self-sabotage. And then as you get older, and you come out on the other end, you become more self-aware. And that's what I did. And that's what I became, because I was the same way. I was skinny, scrawny. Going into my second year of college is when I really started hitting the weights, which gave me the confidence to believe that I could do some of the things that my peers that were already exceptional athletes were doing around me. To answer your question, things change. Where we are now, things are changing daily. So it's created, a lot of downtime. This is something, again, you didn't anticipate. And so for you to obviously, like I said, to go about your everyday life, to go to work, come home, have that routine, and then now have this COVID-19 hit, and then everything changes, then that can put a lot of stress on an individual. But I think for me, and I think what Tank has alluded to in a number of ways, and I think personally, when people have asked me about what I'm doing, how am I coping, and I know female, I have female friends that are single moms that have kids. They're struggling, they're stressed, and so I try to just be an inspiration, or try to send them something inspirational, motivational, just so they can kind of keep their spirits up, because there's no telling, like, times like this can create dark moments, and it will cause people to jump off the edge. I mean, we're already on the edge right now, but
we're seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, I just try to tell people, don't think negative thoughts, especially around this time, which is hard to do. Don't think negative thoughts if you're really expecting positive results.
I want to get specific because, again, I'm selfish and I want to learn from you both. What are you doing at home right now to keep your mind right? And what are, is there a routine that you're on that you can share with us?
I think just my experience of being an athlete, a professional athlete, and going through some of the things that I've gone through, the obstacles that I've been able to come out on the other end of, has prepared me, again, mentally for a moment like this, that I'm not going to be defeated. Like I said, I think it's that athlete mentality that I've been able to acquire, the experiences that I've been able to. So
what does that look like? So what does that look like when you wake up in the morning?
I try to eat healthy. I'm trying to do minimal workouts that I can in my driveway. I created the driveway challenge. I put that on my Instagram just for inspiration.
And what was the driveway challenge?
So I challenged everybody to go out in the driveway. If you don't have an ab bench, do it old school. Have somebody hold your feet. Do 19 sit-ups just for motivation, and tag somebody that they wanted to do the challenge.
And then at night, what do you do before you go to sleep?
Sleep schedule has changed everything because I don't really have to do. There's no reason for me to be up at a certain time unless I have an appointment. So I literally have been binge watching on so many Netflix shows to the point to where I've been right now I'm watching Designated Survivor. Prior to
it's
that,
a good show. I love that show.
Prior to that, I got so hooked on Money Heist. This is no lie. I had an appointment, I think on a Thursday. I started watching Money Heist at probably like 2:00 in the morning. I got so hooked. I had them binge watch. I was like 7-8 hours. My appointment was at 12:00. I looked up and it was 10:30 a.m. I had been up for about 8 hours watching this show, just hooked.
That's wild. So you're basically right now, and it's nice to hear this, but you're kind of in a similar place that a lot of us are, which is time doesn't exist anymore, as Tank said, right. And you're just trying to figure out like how to continue moving your life forward and your new career forward while like under these new restrictions. So it's nice for me because I'm like, oh, Terrell Owens is human, just like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tank, you manage a social media empire. And if you're not on it and posting every day and like doing all these things, like it doesn't happen. And you also have, your kids in the house and your wife. What's your day?
I just want to say, I think Terrell's right. I blame this time thing on Netflix because at least you used to be like, all right, this show's on Thursday night. So I'm going to know that tonight's Thursday night. Nobody knows you could just watch 9 years of television in 2 days and nothing matters anymore. I looked at my phone yesterday and I saw 6 and I said, oh man, I got to text my sister. It's her birthday. And then I said, oh no, it's May. Her birthday is next month. Her birthday is April 6th. So not only I just have no clue what's happening at all. I'm totally lost.
You're like 2 months behind.
So I wake up early around noon and I just get right into. No, I have my wife. I looked at her yesterday, Justin, and I really meant. I just felt this overwhelming feeling. I was like, you are unbelievable. I have a 7-year-old. I have a 13-year-old stepdaughter, a 7-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old. And the 2.5-year-old wakes up relatively early. He wakes up around, I have no idea because before I wake up is a whole different dimension. He could wake up at 5 or 7 and I have no idea. But she does. She wakes up every day with him. Every single day she gets up with him. And I sleep till, it used to be 8. Now 9 is the new 8. I have tea every morning. I switched from coffee to tea about 2 years ago. And that's like a nice little ritual for me because I have nice tea. It's not Lipton. I get it from a place. I have the strainer. I boil it. I brush my teeth, look at my phone, see what happened overnight on Instagram and any emails that I want to see. And then I start getting into the Instagram stuff. I'll post on Tank Sinatra, making sure that the content is out. It's doing well. If it's not doing well, I have to pull it and do something else. I got to make another meme, find another story, check my DMs, manage comments, interact with the followers, like the comments, respond to DMs, the nice ones, the shitty ones, I just let fly. I have no patience for people telling me I'm not a good person anymore because they didn't like a meme that I made. That's something that I learned in quarantine. I can't handle it anymore. It's like, what I like about quarantine, just to sidetrack, is that all the problems that people were making such a huge deal 2 months ago, they've all disappeared. Every single one of them has disappeared. And although there is some division around this whole thing, it really does seem like people have started to focus on what's important and not whether or not, somebody's, being slightly mean to somebody else. Like it's all like, let's fix this problem first and then we'll go back to the bullshit. It was almost like things in America were so good that people were just picking problems. Let's argue over whether or not, vaccines work or, the earth is flat. It's like, we solved those problems. Why are we going backwards? But anyway, I digress. The only major change I've seen in myself in this quarantine is I'm reading more, but I'm not reading to the point where I'm escaping my responsibilities. It's just like I'm in recovery from drug addiction, alcoholism. And part of that, situation is you connect with people. And when those people speak to me, I feel like a higher power speaking directly to me through them. Mm. And since I'm not getting that all the way, I'm getting that from books. And I've been reading the same 20 books for the last 10 years over and over again, just going back through them, because if I finished, Conversations with God or The Obstacle is the Way 3 years ago, by the time I pick it up again, I'm a different person, or I should be. So when I look at the book, I get different stuff out of it. But I feel like, books, especially like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill followed, these titans of industry around for 20, 25 years, interviewing them, distilling it down to 250 pages. How dare I not read that over and over and over and over again and try and get as much as I can out of it? So that's the only real difference. Everything else has stayed pretty much the same, but I'm definitely reading more. And that's become more prevalent in my routine and more important to me, is to make sure that I read something every single day.
All this time is allowing, I know for myself, and I'm sure Tank, it's enabling us to be and put us in a creative space, and then really to learn a lot about ourselves and our significant others, and more aware of our kids, because we're spending so much time with each other. Because I have a young daughter, and so I find myself, when she's here, I don't have it on an everyday basis, but when she's here, obviously I have to pay attention to it. But I'm so more aware of her and watching her grow and just become a human being, like on an everyday basis. And I'm TikToking. I never thought I would be on TikTok, but I'm a fun guy. So I'm like, okay, let me get on this thing. And so it's been, like I said, it's been fun just to do that. And then even with that, like I said, I realized I've subject myself to the masses. So yeah, it's going to be some knuckleheads, some critics here and there, but I can deal with it because I've dealt with it throughout the course of my career. I have fun with it. I bounce. I go back and forth. They want to throw some shade my way, I'll throw it right back at them. But overall, I would probably say 95 to 98% of the people, it's been all positive. It's fun. They love it. I mean, I have people DMing me like, oh my gosh, this made my day. You made me smile. You made me laugh. And during this particular time, that's what people need.
I want to end with this then from both of you, because Terrell, you said it perfectly. If you could take 1 minute, each of you, and speak to a man who maybe just got laid off, or who is stressed to figure out how to keep his family fed right now. If you could speak to yourself during the hardest point in your life, when you didn't know if there was hope, what would you say? 1 minute each.
Don't let the environment, situation, people condition you to where you think that you can't succeed. As I mentioned earlier, if you want positive results, you can't have negative thoughts. And sometimes, like I said, we're human. That's human nature. But in order to, have those positive results, then you have to be in a positive frame of mind. And so, as I said, you just can't allow the circumstances. And sometimes, like I said, I heard that the other day. Circumstances sometimes make the man. We're talking about, this is the title of the show, it's being man enough. And so that's where I feel like, we're all in this together. Obviously, as men, we want to be leaders. We want to be people that motivate, inspire. So again, just as what I said, you can't allow the environment, the people around you to condition yourselves to where you feel like you can't succeed.
Thank you. Tank, what you got? Well, what do you have for that one person who's struggling right now? Yourself when you were younger. What do you say?
Yeah, if I was talking to my younger self, I would tell myself to go easier on myself and the people around me, and just be absolutely 100% sure that everything that happens in your life is preparing you for the next step. And life is just set up for you or for me or anybody, that you just can't skip steps. I was just on Ellen in December, and I've been wanting to be on Ellen for like the last 3 years. And I know now, having been through the experience, if I was on Ellen 3 years ago, I would have tanked it, because I hadn't, no pun intended, but I wasn't prepared. Incremental progress is all there is. And you're never going to be perfect, but as long as you're perfecting yourself constantly, you'll always feel like you're on your way to where you think you want to be. And then once you get there, you'll find out that the goalpost has moved, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's built into us as humans to always want to progress and grow, and never disregard incremental progress, no matter how small it is. It all matters. It all adds up. And most importantly, go easy on yourself and just try and enjoy your life for what it is.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, I really appreciate you guys taking the time today because I needed this today. I've been really hard on myself recently, and you know, I've been going live every night. I've been like taking on the burden of a lot of my followers to just try to bring positivity because so many are struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts. My kids, my wife, and I've just been feeling so overwhelmed with like trying to figure out where the time is going, how to balance it all, and you know, being the stereotypical dude and putting all of the stress and the weight and the burden on my shoulders. And it feels really nice to talk to two insanely successful, accomplished men like yourselves and hear that, like, you know what? T.O.'s binging on Netflix, Designated Survivor. These things are so helpful for me and for other men. And I just want to thank you guys for coming on today and being open and vulnerable, because this is a unique time in history. And we need men like you to model that it's also okay to not be okay and to not know where you're going. And so I appreciate all of the advice from both of you, and I hope that we can do this again. And a special thank you to Braun. I was gonna send you both one of these, but it doesn't look like you need it.
No.
All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you both. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure meeting both of you guys.